Out on the far edge of the galaxy, corporations control everything, including the people hired to explore dangerous new worlds. That's where one particular Secunit comes in. It's built for security, armed to the teeth, and supposed to follow orders without question. But this one? It's got a secret. Between watching endless soap operas and reluctantly babysitting humans, it finds itself caught in something far bigger than routine patrols. Welcome to Murderbot Diaries. We start in mining station Arataki, out in the Corporation Rim. A group of miners finishes their job and celebrates, while their guard is a security android called a Secunit. For 6 months, this unit has kept them safe from danger. The Secunit was built to follow human orders, but it doesn't actually like people very much. Normally, bots like it have a governor module that forces them to obey and stops them from hurting humans. This Secunit, however, secretly hacked its own system and turned the module off. That means it's free. Even so, it chooses to stay with the company, mostly because running away could get it destroyed. This is where the name Murderbot comes in, independent but pretending to play along. Soon, Murderbot is assigned to help a survey group from the Preservation Alliance. The leader is Dr. Mensah, an expert in terraforming and a mother of 7. Other members include Arata, a biologist, Pinley, her lawyer spouse, Rothi, who studies wormholes, Garathan, an augmented human who can link into data, and Professor Bharadwaj, a geochemist who oddly hoards soap. To make things more complicated, Arata, Rothi, and Pinley are stuck in a messy love triangle. During their survey, Murderbot spends most of its free time watching entertainment feeds, which it enjoys far more than dealing with humans. But everything changes when a massive sandworm suddenly attacks. Murderbot quickly destroys it and rescues Arata and Bharadwaj. Shocked and panicked, Arata is comforted when Murderbot removes its helmet and tries to be gentle, which is something unusual for a bot. Later, the crew reviews video of this moment and grows uneasy. The bot acted outside its normal rules, and they fear it could be broken or dangerous. They don't report it, though, because they need its protection. Meanwhile, Murderbot struggles with fragments of violent memories and keeps turning back to its favorite cheesy shows, which hints that more is coming. The Preservation Alliance notices that part of their survey map hasn't synced correctly. While Murderbot is in stasis, Dr. Mensah takes charge, deciding they should investigate on their own to see if the company has hidden anything. Professor Bharadwaj, now recovered from her earlier injuries, joins the team for the mission. When Murderbot powers back on, it's irritated to learn the crew already plan to explore without it. Garathan, still wary of the bot's odd behavior, argues that they should avoid relying on it too much. Murderbot insists on going since danger seems likely, but Garathan continues to keep details from it. Unlike the Corporation Rim, where bots are treated as tools, the Preservation Alliance tends to view them as people, which creates tension. To test its independence, Garathan asks Murderbot to hold eye contact. For a Secunit, this is extremely uncomfortable. Its design was never meant for forming connections. Comfort bots exist for emotional support, but Murderbot isn't one of them. Still, Garathan notices how Murderbot showed kindness toward Arata earlier and becomes even more suspicious. Meanwhile, the personal drama between Arata, Pinley, and Rothi shifts into a polyamorous relationship. While the group debates their next move, Mensah sets out to explore a ridge on her own. During her climb, her gear malfunctions and she begins to panic. The team sends drones to check on her, while Murderbot detects her distress and calls in. She answers, steadying herself while pressing on. Suddenly, a sandworm bursts from the ground but collapses before reaching her. Mensah retreats safely, reporting that the ridge overlooks a crater filled with sandworm skeletons. Above it floats a shimmering dome-shaped field with magnetic force strong enough to crush a drone. The crew speculates that alien technology may be buried under the sand, causing the corrupted map data. They prepare to investigate further, contacting a nearby group called Deltfall Survey, only to find their base destroyed, alarms blaring, and their Secunit disabled. This time, Murderbot will join the investigation. Soon, the Preservation Alliance prepares to travel to the nearby research base. Before they leave, Dr. Mensah encourages Murderbot to lower his helmet so he looks less intimidating and more like part of the group. During the trip, however, Murderbot is glued to his favorite soap operas and clearly doesn't enjoy the humans trying to chat with him. Rothi, in particular, tries to strike up conversation, but Murderbot finds the whole thing irritating and would much rather be left alone. Back at the Alliance's own habitat, Bharadwaj continues to recover from her injuries but is still shaken. Garathan offers her some behavior modules to help, though she refuses. Meanwhile, Murderbot quietly observes Garathan and grows suspicious of him, especially after noticing Garathan sneaking into Mensah's quarters, holding her pillow like he misses her presence. Later, the group discovers Murderbot has been reading their logs. Concerned, Mensah directly asks if it intends to hurt them. Murderbot's long, awkward silence and his usual inner sarcasm about humans doesn't exactly inspire trust. Still, his dry humor adds levity to tense moments. When they finally reach the other habitat, the team lands carefully near a lake. Murderbot takes point since the humans lack combat skills. Inside, he immediately finds finds the ruined Secunit from earlier. Pushing further in, he comes across the horrifying sight of the entire Deltfall team slaughtered. Mensah urges him to retreat, but communications are cut out due to interference. This isn't an accident. Murderbot deliberately blocked the signal, not ready to leave without answers. Investigating further, he realizes another Secunit has gone rogue and slaughtered the humans. Murderbot quickly disables the hostile unit before it can cause more harm. Examining the remains, Murderbot discovers the truth. The Secunit wasn't acting on its own, but was being controlled remotely. Before he can process this, another bot suddenly storms the room and opens fire on him. Later, we see a flashback to the Threshold Pass Fabrication Center, deep in the Corporation Rim. Here, Sec units are built on long, demanding production lines. Human workers labor endlessly under harsh conditions, and mistakes are common, showing just how brutal and careless the system really is. Back in the present, Murderbot is dragged down a corridor by a mysterious enemy and strapped to a table. While waiting for a chance to act, it nervously hums the theme song from Sanctuary Moon, its favorite soap. When the attacker tries to install a combat override module, Murderbot resists, but the device locks in. Now it risks being controlled like a puppet. Dr. Mensah suddenly rushes in wielding a mining drill and manages to disable the attacker, freeing Murderbot. Still, the bot is badly damaged, slipping in and out of awareness. As it stumbles through the halls, it hallucinates, seeing images that blur together with scenes from Sanctuary Moon. Meanwhile, tensions boil over aboard the transport. The group learns that Mensah had earlier sent Pin Lee back to the ship for safety, which frustrates some of the crew. Rathi decides to arm himself and march out to help, but he quickly injures his own hand and becomes more of a burden than an aid. On board the transport, Pin Lee takes command and uses the ship itself as a weapon. In a bold move, she pilots directly into the hostile bot, crushing it and ending the fight. The immediate danger is gone, but a bigger problem remains. Murderbot's combat override module is still active. Realizing that it could be forced to attack its own humans, Murderbot makes a grim choice. To protect the crew, it turns its weapon on itself, hoping to shut down the override before it can be used against them. The Murderbot begins barely functioning but still alive after shooting itself in the chest to stop the override. The team carries it back to base, worried and unsure what to do next. While tensions run high, Erida panics and fires at a shadow in the distance. It turns out to be a survivor from Deltfall, a woman named Lee BB. She explains that her own Sec unit also went berserk and slaughtered her group. Shocked, she learns that Murderbot disabled itself rather than risk harming the Preservation Alliance. Bardwaj quickly gets to work, carefully removing the combat override module and rebooting Murderbot back online. But Garathan doesn't trust the machine. He dives into its code, determined to uncover what it's hiding. To his alarm, he discovers the truth. Murderbot had already hacked its governor module long before, freeing itself from company control. The revelation splits the group. Lee BB and Garathan argue that the bot could be manipulating them. Rathi and Bardwaj defend it, convinced Murderbot has been protecting them all along. Mensah listens to both sides, but ultimately decides they need it with them, no matter how risky. Murderbot then explains something even more troubling. The hub system itself may have been compromised. To protect the crew, it has been secretly feeding the company fake, redundant data, so they won't realize what's happening. The beacon, however, remains out of reach. Mensah chooses to go with Murderbot to activate it manually. On their walk, the two share casual conversation, surprising Murderbot, who is unused to being treated like an equal. For the first time, it almost enjoys the company of a human. Just as Mensah seems ready to confide something about Garathan, disaster strikes. The beacon explodes before they can reach it, forcing Mensah and Murderbot to retreat as their ship narrowly dodges destruction. Murderbot admits to Mensah that he uses his favorite soap opera, Sanctuary Moon, as a coping tool whenever life gets overwhelming. The confession comes with a surprising twist. He actually deleted all of his repair manuals to make room for the show's latest episodes. Mensah is not impressed, especially since they need those manuals for ship maintenance. Frustrated, Mensah attempts to handle the repairs herself, but the stress becomes too much and she suffers another panic attack. Recognizing the signs, Murderbot decides to comfort her the only way he knows how, by streaming a Sanctuary Moon episode about synchronized breathing. To both of their surprise, it calms her down and helps her regain focus. Unfortunately, Murderbot's injuries continue to worsen, and it collapses from blood loss soon after. Mensah doesn't give up though. She manages to stabilize Murderbot, and while working through its neural connections, figures out enough technical details to repair the hopper and get it operational again. Back at the base, new tensions are building. Bardwaj and Lee BB begin forming a closer bond, while Garathan keeps trying to reach Mensah and Murderbot through communications. But just as things seem to settle, Lee BB suddenly turns on them. Pulling a weapon, she demands full access to the hub system. Bardwaj attempts to de-escalate the situation with reason, but Lee BB reveals her true colors. She admits she was the one responsible for destroying the emergency beacon earlier, exposing herself as a saboteur. The shocking standoff ends when Murderbot returns. Without hesitation, he He raises his weapon and fires, killing Lee BB instantly with a single shot. The others are horrified, struggling to process what just happened. For Murderbot, though, the moment leaves him unsettled for another reason. He realizes that deep down, killing felt disturbingly satisfying. In another flashback, we see Port Free Commerce 1 month earlier. On the eve of the Chatterjee Memorial Lecture, Garathan finally breaks down and admits the truth that he once worked as a spy for the corporation, with Mensah as his assigned target. Tired of the lies, he confesses to the team and even admits he's thought about ending his life. Seeking a clean break, he left the corporation and joined the Preservation Alliance. Later outside, Garathan tells Mensah he feels uneasy about the upcoming mission, and even more nervous about trusting a sec unit. Back in the present, the group is still shaken after Lee BB's betrayal and death. Murderbot urges them to leave quickly, this time using a gentler tone rather than his usual bluntness. Surprisingly, the softer approach convinces them to follow. They pile into the hopper, though doubts about Murderbot's loyalty linger. During the ride, Murderbot wrestles with his own thoughts. Part of him wants to abandon the humans altogether, or simply sit back and binge Sanctuary Moon until his battery runs dry. But when Mensah opens up, telling him she sees him as someone trying to help, Murderbot starts to feel a spark of connection. Their conversation is cut short by sudden trouble. The hopper is surrounded by huge creatures. At first, the team panics, but soon realize the creatures aren't attacking, they're mating. The idea of electrifying the hull comes up, but the humans refuse, unwilling to harm them. Unfortunately, the creatures leave sticky eggs all over the ship, making escape difficult. The real danger arrives when another sec unit appears and blocks Murderbot's threat assessment systems. But before it can attack further, one of the massive creatures crushes it, tearing its head clean off for damaging the eggs. Though spared, the group is rattled, and Garathan collapses from exhaustion. With no choice, they decide to return him to the habitat, even with hostile threats still lurking nearby. In a scene from Sanctuary Moon, Nav-7's new captain takes charge, or so it seems. But the bot goes rogue, sabotaging the ship, pulling it into an event horizon and killing everyone on board. It's a grim reminder, and Murderbot jolts back to reality. In the present, things look bad. Garathan's condition is worsening, his fever climbing dangerously high. To make matters worse, the surveillance feed shows 3 sec units waiting at their habitat. After digging deeper, the crew discovers the bots belong to a mining corporation called Greycris. Not only are they behind the destroyed beacon, but they also had ties with Lee BB all along. The leader of Greycris contacts them via video. She insists this is just a misunderstanding and offers a rendezvous point. The Preservation Alliance tries to be hopeful, but given past encounters, they know it won't be that simple. Murderbot, certain that talking won't work, volunteers to scout the area first. Meanwhile, the crew scrambles to treat Garathan. Refusing painkillers, he works with Murderbot to find another option. Together, they decide to block his neural pain receptors, which requires Murderbot linking directly into him. The connection reveals unexpected emotions. Murderbot blurts out, "Why don't you love me back?" A subconscious echo of Garathan's feelings for Mensah. Things get even more awkward when the link goes both ways, and Garathan glimpses Murderbot's horrific past, the bloody mining colony incident. Shocked, Garathan realizes this is why the Secunit calls itself Murderbot. Shaken, Murderbot admits it feels like it could break at any moment and turn on them. Fearing this, it chooses to leave, wandering off on its own. The Preservation Alliance debates whether to bring it back, knowing they still need each other to survive. Alone, Murderbot begins forming a bold plan to create a new story and outwit the company itself. When he eventually returns, the others are startled by his presence, unsure what he intends to do next. Murderbot begins reflecting on people and how differently they handle feelings. Some hide everything inside, while others wear emotions openly. For someone who usually avoids such things, this difference is striking. Still, the mission must continue. Murderbot lies to the crew about their odds of surviving, calling it medium to low, though in reality it's far worse. Garathan quickly spots the deception and challenges him, unwilling to let it slide. The group lands near a dense forest, ready to carry out their risky plan. Pinley and Garathan prepare to launch a drone, which will serve as a transponder. With it, Garathan hopes to hack Greycris's hub system remotely and trigger their beacon to call for help. The catch? They need Greycris's access codes. That's where Murderbot comes in. It appears to cooperate with Greycris, who attempt to install an override module on it from afar. Their effort fails because its governor module is already hacked. To sell the illusion, Murderbot insists it will betray the preservation crew and deliver them to Greycris. Everyone believes the act, yet that's not its true plan. Behind the mask, Murderbot intends to lure Grey Chris into the launch site and destroy them when the beacon fires. Unfortunately, the scheme requires him to accompany the enemy, leaving little room for escape. Mensah believes there's another way, which delays Murderbot's trap. As time ticks on, Murderbot distracts Grey Chris with chatter before leaping dramatically from the platform, only for nothing to happen. The preservation crew failed to fire on time. Mensah herself arrives and tries bargaining directly with the Grey Chris leader. Talks collapse and chaos erupts into gunfire. Through the battle, Murderbot unleashes its full strength. At the climax, it hurls itself over a ravine as the beacon ignites, fire tearing across the site. In a final act, Murderbot shields Mensah, sacrificing its body to save her, crashing violently to the ground below. The last episode starts with Murderbot rebooting inside a company lab. Its memories are gone, leaving it confused and detached from recent events. Engineers quietly wipe what's left, slot in a new module, and set it back on duty. From the outside, it looks like just another sec unit, fully under control, following orders without question. Any trace of its bond with the Preservation Society is erased. Meanwhile, Mensah and the others remain aboard the same ship, desperate for answers. They ask about Murderbot's location, but company representatives dodge the questions. When pressed, they fall back on the team's signed NDAs, insisting their hands are tied. The revelation that Murderbot has had its memories erased hits the group hard. Gurthin, however, expected this outcome. He explains the data isn't gone forever, just locked while the company decides what's useful. Before they can act, unrest breaks out among nearby workers. Protests swell into chaos, and the company deploys sec units to stamp it out. Murderbot is sent in, but fragments of old trauma surface. When ordered to harm civilians, it falters. Unwilling to follow through, the hesitation allows protesters to overwhelm it. In the confusion, Gurthin seizes his chance. Using personal connections and leverage, he gains temporary access to Murderbot's stored files. Though encrypted, he cracks the path through repeated mentions of Sanctuary Moon. Piece by piece, he retrieves Murderbot's past and safeguards it. Mensah then steps forward, publicly addressing the media. She exposes what the company has done, using Murderbot itself as living proof. With the company cornered, Gurthin restores the Secunit's memories before it can be dismantled. Reunited, Murderbot is welcomed back by the Preservation Society, yet it feels conflicted. Though the group offers protection and belonging, it chooses another path. Wanting freedom, Murderbot boards a mining convoy, setting out to live on its own terms, uncertain but determined to find purpose. So that's the wild beginning of Murderbot's story. What starts as just another survey mission quickly spirals into mystery, danger, and plenty of awkward bot-human interactions. And of course, Murderbot still finds time for its favorite dramas, because who wouldn't binge watch while saving clueless humans? See you in the next recap.